So I just wanted to kind of explain to you guys what you're going to be writing about and how to approach this essay. Now, this informational essay is going to be your first test grade of this 9 weeks. So you want to make sure that you do really well on it. Okay, put your best effort forward. And if you need help with organizing it, make sure that you complete that optional outline assignment so that I can give you feedback on how to organize it and how to write your paper. All right, so your writing task is this. You are going to be writing about how incurring substantial college debt or how getting or gaining, okay, a lot of debt is affecting many recent graduates. That's why I underlined that for you guys. We know from the passages, the two passages, that the costs of college education have increased substantially in the last several years, and this increase has led many students to take on a lot of debt in order to fund their education. So what I want you guys to realize, okay, there's two very important things that I want you to take away, okay? First of all, you are writing an informational essay, okay? An informational essay is different from an argumentative essay in that you're not trying to prove a certain argument. You're essentially just trying to show how getting a lot of debt, okay, how basically taking on a lot of college debt affects students, affects college students. Okay, so you're talking about, it's kind of like a cause and effect, right? How taking on this debt, how it affects graduates. But you're not arguing something. It's not an argumentative essay. Okay, so that's the first takeaway. It's an informational essay, not an argumentative essay. The second important takeaway is that you guys are only including information from these two passages, okay? I know that you have the entire internet at your disposal, okay? But your assignment is to take into consideration the two passages that you read about student debt and how it's affecting graduates, okay? And use information from just those two passages. Okay, so I mean, if you want to include a little bit of personal information, that's okay, but really focus the majority of your paper, okay, on information from those passages. All right, I want to show you guys how you are being graded, okay, on this essay, because it's I want to be very upfront and very clear about how you're being graded. So first of all, the introduction, you need to effectively introduce the topic and the main ideas. What I want you guys to talk about is essentially basically how student debt is affecting graduates. Maybe talk about how the price of college has been increasing substantially over the last few years and how that's put a burden on students, right? You might start with a question if you want to. Try to kind of engage your audience, try to connect with your audience in the best way that you can. And then just kind of give a broad overview. Your introduction will probably be close to maybe 5 sentences. It doesn't have to be a really long paragraph, but you need to effectively introduce the main topic, okay? Then you are going to, so you're also being graded on your organization and your transitions. What I would suggest you guys do is think of 3 ways that college debt affects graduates, okay? Some students in the past have organized it in a way that they talk about like how, student debt affects graduates before they even enter college, how student debt affects them while they're in college, and then how student debt affects them while they're after they graduate, right? So if you want to organize it that way, you can, or if you want to come up with a different way that makes more sense to you, that's fine. But you need to make sure that you can include information from both passages in most of your body paragraphs. So try to pick some kind of overall 3 big ways that college debt affects graduates that you can pull information from both passages, okay? So what I would suggest you do is, even though this is an informational paper, I would still suggest you have some sort of thesis statement, okay? So at the very end of your introduction paragraph, your last sentence will say something like, college debt affects graduates by, and then you'll fill in those 3 ways that college debt affects many recent graduates. Again, if you want to talk one-on-one with me about ideas you have for organizing your paper, you can submit that optional outline, which I'll talk about in just a minute, or you can also email me questions. You can be like, hey, Moshaver, this is a thesis statement I was thinking about. How does this sound to you? Okay, I'd be more than happy to help you guys organize your paper. You just need to reach out to me if you need help with that. All right. Also, make sure that you're including some sort of transitions, right? It says varied transitions to connect ideas. So you need to make sure that while you're transitioning from one paragraph to the next, that you're saying, that you're transitioning your ideas, right? With transition words, or with like, you could say, for instance, maybe the one way that college debt affects graduates is, right, just make sure that you include some of those transition words or phrases, to transition from ideas from one paragraph to the next. You could say, in addition to college graduates while they're in school, debt also affects graduates after they leave school, right? So just make sure that you're including those transition words, okay, or phrases. Supporting evidence. So you need to include relevant and sufficient facts from both passages. And guys, this means in each body paragraph. So you should have 3 body paragraphs, okay? And in each one of those body paragraphs, you need to include relevant and sufficient facts from both passages. I would say an easy way to look at this is you can kind of look at each body paragraph as almost like a constructed response, but it's a shorter version of a constructed response because you don't have to include 3 pieces of information, you just need 2, okay? In addition, I would caution you guys, please do not feel like you have to just quote, okay? Like, I like to see one quote and one paraphrase in each body paragraph, which essentially shows that, hey, I can quote information and I can say, make sure you put, passage 1 or passage 2 in parentheses. But you are more than welcome, and I would encourage you, if you feel comfortable, to paraphrase information. Put some information in your own words. Just make sure that you give credit to the passage. So you could say something like, in passage 1 talks about, you could give like a specific fact from passage 1, right? And then just make sure that you acknowledge that that comes from passage 1 so I can give you credit for citing correctly. All right, I'm going to talk about tone and language. So the reason that students have lost points on tone and language is in the past is if they use words that sound like they're really biased. Remember, you are writing an objective, formal, informational essay. So you shouldn't say stuff like, man, college debt is outrageous. This is killing kids or crushing kids with all the debt, right? Because that sounds really biased, like you're against colleges. You're just providing an objective, summary, okay, of how college debt is affecting graduates. So make sure that you don't use really strong language that shows that you're biased one way or the other. Try to remain objective if you can, okay, or formal. So, try to stay away from using I and you and things like that. That ties into the formal language as well. All right, you're also being graded on your conclusion, so make sure that your conclusion follows logically from the ideas that you present. You might kind of sum up, the different ways that college debt affects graduates. You also might talk about the significance of this, because remember, if you'll basically use your summary to summarize your main ideas, but you also might talk about how, if college debt continues to rise at the rate that it has been the last 2 years, what impact that might have on future generations, right? So kind of talk about the significance of this topic, okay? All right, then you're also being graded on the sentence structure, citing sources, and grammar. This is kind of the grammar portion of this. So clear and complete sentences with range and variety. Please make sure that, this is a style thing. You shouldn't have lots of short, choppy sentences. You shouldn't have lots of really, really long sentences. Try to vary your sentence structures. You might start with a verb every now and then and starting with a noun. Sure your writing is interesting, okay? And that it has lots of range and variety with sentence length, okay? Also, when you are citing your sources, okay, make sure that you are telling me what paragraph number, or actually, you know what, scratch that. Just tell me what passage number you get your information from. If you say passage 1 or passage 2, that's perfect. Okay, you don't have to cite the paragraph number, just passage number, and then has no grammar errors. So that has to interfere with meaning. So you can still have some grammar errors, but I don't want you to have a lot of grammar errors to the point that I can't understand what you're saying. So try to proofread your work. So, and then I will probably fill these out with some short comments on areas for improvement and your areas of strength. Okay, So make sure that you read over this rubric and really understand how you're being graded before you write your paper. Let's go ahead and go back to your paper. So this is the writing task in this box here. It explains what you need to do. And then it says before you write, be sure to do these things. And then as you're writing it, make sure that you're doing these things. So this is kind of, you can view this almost like a checklist, okay, of things that you need to do to make sure that you are on task and doing what you're supposed to be doing. All right, the last thing that I wanted to go over for those of you that are doing the outline, okay, who are choosing to get some help with how you're organizing your paper. This is the optional outline, okay? And again, all I'm wanting you guys to do is tell me how student loan debt affects college graduates. So to organize your essay, think about 3 ways that college debt affects recent graduates according to the passages. Remember, you're just including information from the passages. These will become your body paragraphs, and then you'll also need to think about what evidence you're going to use. So again, I would try to include 2 pieces of information. I would use a short quote for one and then a paraphrase for one, where you know, explain basically the evidence in your own words. But so you're going to be listing, those of you that are doing this optional essay or outline assignment are basically listing the 1, 2, 3 ways that college debt affects recent graduates, and then just the evidence from both passages that kind of back up each point. Okay, so if this helps you organize your essay, again, that's fantastic. Please do it. I can give you feedback on it. I don't mind. If doing an outline doesn't really help you and you feel like you've got a good idea of what you're going to write about, just do it, okay? Remember, when you are going to write your paper, you will have to explain what each piece of evidence shows about how student debt affects recent graduates. So again, you know, you'll have an introduction, you'll have 3 body paragraphs, you'll have a conclusion, and you'll be explaining again how college debt affects students. So if you have any questions about how to organize your essay or what the assignment calls for, please make sure that you email me you know, your questions. I would be happy to help you organize. If you want to run a thesis statement idea by me, or a, you know, topic sentence ideas by me, or evidence or whatever, I'd be happy to help you through this process. Okay, don't wait until the day that it is due to start this paper, okay? Usually when we are in class, this assignment takes at least 2 days, if not 3 days, okay? So think about 3 hours, if not 4.5 hours to write this paper. And that's about how much time you should be spending really making sure that this is the best essay that you can write, okay? Because again, this is going to be your first test grade of this 9 weeks, and it will have a significant impact on your grade, okay? So make sure that you email me if you have questions, and I look forward to reading, you know, your papers. If there's anything that I can do, please reach out and let me know, okay? Thanks, guys. Hope you have a great week, and we'll be in touch.